how August is seen and how it becomes invisible from each of the latitude. So during 26,000 BCE, it was visible till Kurukshetra, a little bit above of Kurukshetra, that is Kathua. The timing of event was 26,000 BCE. Above that, August is not visible. Below that, August is visible from every part of India. Then on reaching the southern ocean and on taking a resolve with regard to the purpose of your task, importance of the mission undertaken with your individual capacities to leave the ocean, you reach the glorious mountain Mahendra. August and best one among all mountains will be completely golden with marvelous terrace and trees, and it will be steeping into ocean on the other side of land, and the mountain becomes the jumping point for you Vanaras. Today I will be speaking on the implication of Agastya Vindhya lore on the antiquity of Indian astronomy. So, with the help of Agastya Vindhya lore, we will try to understand Nataraja, Apasmara, and Agastya connection also. Three key points. All the evidence of Agastya Vindhya from our ancient narratives points to 21,000 years. So, this is a very simple lore which is almost present in maximum of the scriptures like Ramayana, Mahabharata. And very interesting thing about Agastya and stories related to Agastya is that they come like Shruti, Shruta Purvam, Shruta Aste, and Vede Shrutam Puranecha, something like that it comes up. And some event is going on, and suddenly this story is being told by the sages to sometimes Yudhishthira. Ram is telling the story to Sita, and likewise this story surfaces. So I was very inquisitive about how these stories are coming in between and why it is so much required. So without that story also, Ramayana can go on and Mahabharata can go on. Rigveda can go on. But these are the stories, they are coming and they are surfacing suddenly. So due to that inquisitiveness, I tried to understand, because since I and Nileshji were doing two-pole star theory from Surya Siddhanta, and we found that Agastya was a pole star that time. And in all of the astronomy books, we have Agastya. So I tried to connect whether these lores contain any astronomical metaphor. So likewise, my inquisitiveness began into this. And I found that this lore, particularly Agastya Vindhya, is at least 21,000 years old. This includes Tirthas, Agastya Tirtha and Nataraja temple associated with sage Agastya. And it is very critical to understand that Agastya crossing Vindhya is an astronomy metaphor. Since the story is something like a very much present physical sage is there, and he's talking to everyone. So it's like this is physical Agastya, of course. He's talking and everything is there in the story. A moral is there in the story. Some moral is there. So it is very critical to understand that Agastya crossing Vindhya is an astronomy metaphor. So I thought it will involve scholarly analysis involving objective testing and evaluation in order to form or to come to a level of where we have a proof that this is Agastya Canopus star we are speaking about. So I will take a right to how this lore came in. And for that, to understand, I will be employing Shadadarshana Nyaya, that is Pratyaksha, evidence, Upamana, Anumana, Shabda, testimony, even Abhava, in some case where some different type of inferences have been drawn, and Etihya, history, in which cultural history will be coming into picture. Finally, we will come to the Arthpatti, that is the calculation, and with the help of simulation and all, and we will find the proof how old this lore goes to. So the Prameya theory is Agastya Vindhya lore and Nataraja are astronomical evidence, since it is present in astronomy books also. Pratyaksh is that direct cognizance or formal knowledge when we read popular books like texts like or Itihasa, in fact, like Ramayana, Mahabharata or Purana, we find that Agastya Vindhya lore is present in very similar form, in very similar construct. The Anuman is drawn by me is that Agastya is an astronomical case. For this Anumana, I have Shabda Pramana, that is from Parashar Tantra, which is a book of astronomy. And it says Agastya during southern course stops Vindhya and now rises and sets in south. So we will discuss it later also. And for that, I go back to the cultural history also across that, and I try to understand what is why there are so many Agastya Tirtha in the country, and what is Ardra Darshan festival and how it is connected with Nataraja Orion. So in this lore, I will quickly go. Agastya, on instruction of the creator, courses south. So this creator becomes sometimes Shiva, sometimes other creator also. And due to the effect of slowness of Meru, now here Meru, I will be just not telling you exactly what is right now. And there was a king of height named Vindhya. And Agastya instructs Vindhya not to grow until he comes back from the south Tirthas. Then he is described as rising and setting in south only. This particular reference is coming from an astronomy treatise which is called Parashar Tantra. But the upper construct is very similar in almost every scripture, that is Ramayana and Mahabharata and Purana. So this is all about, it's very simple lore, you know. Agastya is just crossing Vindhya and he says, lay prostrated until he comes back from the southern latitude or southern Tirthas where he was supposed to go. Before we go to more detailed analysis, let us understand Agastya and Vindhya's etymology. So how this was employed actually. So Nagachati iti agaha, that is he is stationed and doesn't move. So this one word is a construct of two different roots. And stayayati, from stay, that means be collected into a heap or mass like a sarpa, like a snake, or parvata, etc. Stay also means stambanati. It comes from stamba, that makes stiff or immovable. So what do you understand by this? Na gacchati iti aga, that means it doesn't move, and sthambanati, where he is himself standing. So Shakespeare says, what is there in the name? But in Indian context, everything is there in the name. So अगर नाम है तो उसका कार्य भी वैसा ही होना चाहिए. ये हमारे इंडियन फिलॉसफी है. Now, once it became pole star, so it is always not a pole star, it is pole star for around 2000, 3000 years. But अब तो अगस्त आगे भी बढ़ने लगे, पीछे भी जा रहे हैं, आगे भी जा रहे हैं, कहीं दिख रहे हैं. तो उसका मीनिंग क्या हो गया? तो बाद के जो भाष्यकार हैं, जब उनको समझ में नहीं आया कि अगस्त का मीनिंग तो पोल स्टार हो रहा है, लेकिन ये तो बहुत मूव कर रहे हैं, ये तो साउथ में जा रहे हैं, इतना सारा ट्रैवलिंग करते हैं ये, तो उनका नाम को हम क्या क्या बताएंगे? देन द स्टोरी केम इन कि अगम मीन्स विंध्य पर्वतम प्लस स्त्यायति इति अगस्त्य. इसमें भी वही दो कॉन्स्ट्रक्ट है, लेकिन यहाँ मीनिंग क्या चेंज हो गया कि विंध्या पर्वत को वो स्तंभ कर रहे थे, इसके लिए वो अगस्त्य हो गए. सो द फर्स्ट वाज फॉरगॉटन because that was happening 12,000 years ago. So that is a huge span of time to forget even the Bhashya. And the Bhashya became this. But in this also, there is one hidden thing in which he is saying the physical Vindhya to be down, but whether it is a physical Vindhya, we will explore that. Now there is a shloka in Amar Kosha. Amar Kosha says, Dhruva Ottana Padih Syat Agastya Kumbha Sambhava Matra Varunasya Ev Lopa Mudra Saha Dharmani. So here what is happening is कि it starts from Dhruva, but they are not able to connect Lopamudra, Agastya, Kumbha Sambhava, everyone with Dhruva. So the Bhashyakar is writing in the bracket that rest of them are only stars. This one is Dhruva and he was son of Uttanpadi. That is why Dhruva Uttanpadi is okay, it is a pole star. But rest of them are not pole stars. They are only simple stars. Because again 12,000 years and we have forgotten that once it was a pole star. But everything is there in the name. So now we understand why he is rising and setting in the south. That I will show how it rises and sets only in the south for 4,000 years in the later slides. So how many of you know precession of equinoxes? Oh wow. So many of them you know. The precession of equinoxes is like it takes around the axis of the earth points to a certain pole star and it takes around 26,000 years to come back to that position. In that it is also making precession of equinoxes and in that same phenomena it is having the axial precession. Now how axial precession is connected with Agastya, that is very interesting. We will try to understand. तो अभी यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? From Kathua till Chidambaram and from Chidambaram till again Kurukshetra. Kathua is little bit at the upper part of Kurukshetra, which is lower to Kashmir area. So the visibility of Agastya starts from Chidambaram and it is visible till Kathua for nearly 10,000 years. From Chidambaram and from below Chidambaram, it was always visible. So there is a kind of misconception also that Agastya was not visible from the whole part of India during 10,000 BCE. But that is a wrong conception because the criteria of visibility was taken to be very high meridian altitude of the Agastya as 5 or 8 degrees. But Hipparchus says that he was watching Agastya grazing on the horizon just 1 degree and 16 minutes above. So we have a vast coastal area where it can have a great refractive effects. So 1 degree 16 minute was nothing and you can always have a direct visual connection exactly in the south where the Agastya is rising. So I will simplify this and I will show in the later slides how this happens. But now again when the Chidambaram comes into picture, what comes into our mind when we name Chidambaram? Nataraja. So Nataraja का मंदिर है वहाँ पे, नटराजा है, डांस कर रहे हैं. तो क्या डांस कर रहे हैं तो वो तो समझना पड़ेगा. तो उनकी आइकोनोग्राफी में हम देखेंगे तो नटराजा है, अपस्मार है. तो अपस्मार का क्या मीनिंग है? वो असुर है, एपिलेप्सी को डिनोट करते हैं. अपस्मार का मीनिंग आयुर्वेदा में एपिलेप्सी है. तो इधर ये उनको एपिलेप्टिक वाला असुर का ज़रूरत क्यों पड़ गया? तो कोई ना कोई उसका भी आइकोनोग्राफी में, इंडियन आइकोनोग्राफीज में भी बहुत सारा चीज़ छुपा हुआ होता है. तो वी हैव टू लाइक डिग इट अप ना, वो मालूम तो करना पड़ेगा क्यों है वहाँ पे अपस्मार. आई एम सॉरी. सो before going into Nataraja, let me introduce Orion. So Mrigashesha Nakshatra sabko malum hai. Everybody knows Mrigashesha Nakshatra. The 27 nakshatras and precession of equinoxes जो है वो each nakshatra में होते हुए 960 years में again comes back to the same nakshatra. So this is very famous nakshatra Orion. तो तिलक जी ने भी Orion के ऊपर पूरा book लिखा. And then Kumaraswamy hai, Carl Sagan hai, they have all eulogized Orion and they have tried to connect with Nataraja, but they forgot how to connect with the Apasmara, what is he doing there. So they could connect this, and even I could superimpose Nataraja in this fashion. And you can see the 3 belt star. आप लोगों ने sky कभी देखते बाहर जाके रात में थोड़ा सा visualize करते हैं कि कुछ भी नहीं दिखता. So you have to come to Kutch because that has a very clear sky, and these 3 stars are always visible during spring season at the end of the spring. So these 3 belt stars are very prominent star, and it was prominently visualized by the humans from very prehistoric times. क्योंकि वो 3 स्टार दिख रहा है और वो 3 स्टार ऐसा दिख रहा है कि it can connect with many other stars in the vicinity. तो वहाँ से लाइन खींचेंगे तो इधर एक दिखता है, फिर उससे लाइन खींचेंगे तो दूसरा दिखता है. तो likewise many stars like Gemini, Canis Major and Auriga, Taurus, Aldebaran, that is Rohini, Kritika. So you can always find these stars which are nearby these 3 belt stars in between in the thigh of Nataraja. There lies a Apasmara also, which gets superimposed automatically on Lepus. Lepus is again origin is Greek origin, but this is called Muyalaka in Tamil. So anybody Tamilian here? No one? So Tamilian know, they connect it with Muyalaka. Muyalaka means lepus, hair itself. So that means this is a composite kind of what we can say constellation, Western constellation, which is having a hunter and a lepus. How I will just show you. So in the right side, in the down there, you see that lepus hair of Western constellation, and it is exactly put as a lepus, which is Apasmara Muyalaka. अपस्मार को मोयलका भी बोलते हैं वहाँ पे चिदम्बरम टेम्पल के अंदर वहाँ पे यही बोला जाता है. एंड यू कैन सी अपस्मार इज विद अंचुली मुद्रा. सो अंचुली मुद्रा कुछ याद आ रहा है अगस्त के साथ का अंचुली मुद्रा, ड्रिंकिंग ऑफ ओशन और समथिंग, कुछ याद आ रहा है? हाँ, तो दैट इज व्हाट अपस्मार इज शोइंग हियर, एंड ही इज रिमेंबरिंग दैट समवन वाज डूइंग दिस थिंग, दैट iconograph is showing that. And this is how the hunter Rudra is also connected with Shiva. It is one more name of Shiva, Rudra the hunter. So Orion the hunter, Lepus constellation is nothing but Rudra the hunter and Apasmara. So this Kutu constellation, that is the composite constellation, was used by the Malavari navigators, and it was known as Kuttan or Kutu. And this whole idea went to Greek also, and that is why the Ptolemaic chart has this hunter, the Orion, and Lepus constellation. So when we say that, okay, what's the big deal? मतलब लेपस उनको भी मालूम है, हैर हमको भी मालूम है, चंद्रमा में हैर है करके तो पूरा वर्ल्ड में सबको यही बात मालूम है. In every civilization you will find the same story. So what's the big deal? But in Indian context, the iconography is keeping some kind of information. But if we ask them, they won't be able to answer us why Lepus is there in their constellation chart. तो मृगशीर्ष नक्षत्र का जो वर्ब रूट है वो मृगयति से आता है. मृगयति मीन्स chaser. So what it is chasing? It is chasing Sirius, that is Canis Major, ये हमारे यहाँ इसको शुना सिरो बोलते हैं। ऋग्वेद में ये बहुत ही प्रसिद्ध सितारा है, स्टार है, और इसको स्टार ही माना जाता है। It is one of the dogs of Indra or Indra itself, and it is one of the brightest star. When these three belt stars are stretched, और जो आपके नटराज के जो पैर से आप सीधा स्ट्रेच करेंगे, it comes to the Sirius, and from Sirius you can connect with Agastya very easily, or with the Gajahasta Mudra you can see it is exactly pointing towards the Agastya. So there is some kind of a connection between Orion, Lepus and Agastya. Apart from that, it is chasing many of the stars in the vicinity. So that is why the nakshatra name itself is Mrigashesha. So not other nakshatras are named like that, but this particular nakshatra which is chasing many of the stars is named in this fashion. So everything is there in the name. Now I will try to make you understand जो हमने अभी ग्राफ देखा था इसके पहले, how Agast is seen and how it becomes invisible from each of the latitude. So during 26,000 BCE, it was visible till Kurukshetra, a little bit above of Kurukshetra, that is Kathua. The timing of event was 26,000 BCE. Above that, Agast is not visible. Below that, Agast is visible from every part of India. Little lapse of time. During 19,000 BCE, Agastya was crossing Vindhya on its southern course, not in northern course. So there is a problem. There is a paper written by Sri K.D. Abhyankar, and it has this idea. He tried to explain in the abhav of one more Agastya, he tried to introduce one more Agastya there. So what he did, he said, okay, the physical Agastya was going south, and during the crossing of Vindhya, he saw the star Agastya coming from north, coming from south, and there they interact. And there he sees that star, and that is why that star's name becomes Agastya. So now what is happening? There is a abhav of evidence. There is a story in Ramayana, there is story in Mahabharata, Purana, everywhere, but there is not a single mention where it is saying that भाई अगस्त्य मुनि जो है वो नीचे जा रहे थे और उसी समय में उनको अगस्त्य का तारा दिखाई दिया. It simply says it was coursing south. तो नया इंट्रोडक्शन करने का ज़रूरत नहीं था. वो फिजिकल अगस्त के बारे में बात हो रही थी तो वो फिजिकली रह जाती. But what was hidden here, that during the coursing of south, it was star Canopus, and that is what Parashar Tantra alludes, because it is an astronomy text. So it says it is rising and setting in south. So physical Agastya cannot rise and set in south. It has to be a story of star Agastya, and since it is an astronomy book, it has to be star Canopus. So the event is 19,000 BCE. This is the Chidambaram latitude. The event is 13,000 BCE. Here, from this latitude, for 4,000 years, Agastya, that is Canopus, is not visible. So the bliss is gone. The whole bliss is gone. But for 4,000 years, it was visible from this southern portion below Chidambaram. So this falsifies K.D. Abhyankar's saying that it was not visible from the whole India before 10,000 BCE. So it gets falsified here. Agastya as a pole star, latitude of Mahendragiri, timing of event 11,000 to 13,000 BCE. We will be referring Ramayana. ततः समुद्रम आसाद्य संप्रधार्य अर्थनिश्चयम् अगस्त्येन अंतरे तत्र सागरे विनिवेशितः. Then on reaching the southern ocean and on taking a resolve with regard to the purpose of your task, importance of the mission undertaken with your individual capacities to leave the ocean, you reach the glorious mountain Mahendra. Chitrasanu Nagaha Shriman Mahendra Parvatottama Jata Rupamaya Shriman Avagado Maharvam. That means that august and best one among all mountains will be completely golden with marvelous terrace and trees, and it will be steeping into ocean on the other side of land, and the mountain becomes the jumping point for you Vanaras. So from there till the end of the ocean, Agastya bent down its leg. That is, one foot is there on the Mahendragiri, and the other end is the end of the ocean. From there, the Agastya is always visible. So the visibility got them towards the south, so that they chase, so that they can have the Lakshya towards the Lanka, and that is why the name Lakshadweep also. So this corroborates Amarkosh lexicographer's intention of keeping Agastyan Dhruva Shloka and etymology of Agastya as a pole star. The timing of the event is given by Sri Nileshokji as 12,209 BCE, and this is also corroborated with the help of Agastya as two pole star condition during Ramayana time. So we go ahead with that. So this is the position of Orion today in Kurukshetra. During 2500 BC, the three-belt star will come down, and during 10,000 BCE, it was more because of its lowest declination. And you can see the three Agastya positions also. So you can see a dancing Nataraja here. This is how Agastya goes below the horizon, and Orion is always visible, but its declination is also changing every time. So everyone knows Mahabharata is a sheet anchor of Indian chronology. Here is another powerful sheet anchor, Agastya. The story of Agastya Vindhya, this is at least 21,000 years old. Any questions or objections? I will be happy to take. Thank you.
There is a myth that Kanyakumari is still waiting for Agastya to come back. And so where is the connection?
This is very interesting, of course. As I said, that the Indian memory is having only Agastya going south and rising and setting in south. After that, there is no inscription coming up in, or no texts are coming up in any of the, like Mahabharata or Ramayana, that it went up also. So that is why that story is there, that it is still going to rise, but it has already risen, and this time, after 72 years, Agastya rise as well as the autumnal equinox, both will be coinciding on Kurukshetra. So Kurukshetra, why Kurukshetra? It is again very interesting that in the longitude, that is the Indian Greenwich Mean Time, earlier the 00 longitude. In that longitude, Kurukshetra, Ujjain and Lanka is mentioned. So why Kurukshetra is mentioned? So there, this was also my inquisitiveness. Why Kurukshetra is mentioned? वो तो कोई भी सिटी हो सकता था ना. हमारा नीचे में हमने उसको लंका दिया, हाइपोथेटिकल मानते हैं सब लोग, मैं नहीं मानती हूँ, मैं मानती हूँ कि वो डूबा हुआ है. हाइपोथेटिकल एक लंका था, उसके ऊपर में उज्जैन. वाई उज्जैन? बिकॉज ट्रॉपिक ऑफ कैंसर इज गोइंग थ्रू दैट, सो that latitude becomes very important in Indian astronomy, because their solstice sun will take a trope. It will go back towards equator, and again it will go till Tropic of Cancer, and again it will come back to equator. सो उज्जैन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. लेकिन कुरुक्षेत्र का क्या हुआ? हम लोग भूल गए. हम लोग कुरुक्षेत्र का क्यों भूल गए? क्योंकि उसको होकर के 12 plus 13,000 years, that is almost 24,000 years back ये हो रहा था. तो हमने वहाँ से शुरू किया था 29,000 BC. तो वो इतना पुराना हो गया कि हम भूल ही गए कि कुरुक्षेत्र का क्या मीनिंग है. कुरुक्षेत्र का मीनिंग इस बार अब निकल रहा है बिकॉज ऑफ द डेक्लिनेशन चेंज अगेन, एंड दैट इज वाई that is the last station of Agastya. Above that, Agastya is not seen, and that is why Kurukshetra is so important on that longitude. So Surya Siddhant in the first adhyay, these three are mentioned. Then Bhaskara mentions. Then Aryabhatiya mentions. Every treatise, astronomy treatise book is mentioning Kurukshetra. So that memory, that going south and rising and setting, which was happening in 12,000 BCE, वो memory रह गया. And still Rameshwaram is waiting that abhi Agastya उगने वाले हैं.
Okay, so I wanted to add something. I don't know if you felt like that question was answered, like Kanyakumari waiting for Agastya. And this is when, it's very important. I get these kind of questions all the time. Like, for example, this. Let's start with the original Agastya story. That is popular, that's known. For example, Agastya was going to the south to civilize the south. Okay, he was crossing Vindhya. Vindhya, did a namaskar, whatever it is, and Agastya said, just stay this way and don't move. Don't grow any taller until I come back. What is interesting is, so this story is well known. So you would imagine it will be there in some Puran, or it will be there in some Ramayana, Mahabharata. That actual story is nowhere mentioned. Absolutely nowhere mentioned. The story that we hear. So some of the stories just pop up sometime, like taking a different meaning because we couldn't explain it. So in this case, again, you may not know the answer and you're not expected to know the answer. But when a story emerges, such as, Kanyakumari is waiting for Agastya, that's from this whole discussion. We need to go, not you, but, find out where you found it, as to where it is mentioned. And once we find out where it is mentioned, what is the dating of that particular book? Because we find a lot of things get added, just like, say, Ramayana, like so many other Ramayanas are written. And if we don't stick to, say, Valmiki Ramayana in dating, it will be a chaos. Okay, so we cannot take a reference from Padma Puran and try to match with Valmiki Ramayana. So this basic story, in fact, when I did Ramayana work, I was trying to look for this original story of K.D. Abhyankar. And everyone would just point me, look at the work of K.D. Abhyankar. And I would just go into cross references and went through every single Purana I can think of, whoever suggested me. And it was a wild goose chase that did not end anywhere. And I was surprised that somebody, in this case, K.D. Abhyankar, started with a story that is not even traced anywhere in the Purana. And it just created something, a complicated thing,
Complicated thing, yeah. And
So
that
now-
became more confusing.
It's
for the
extremely
little
confusing,
audience.
just like I call yugas, yuga dogma. Similarly, I can call this a Agastya dogma. And it becomes such grounded in our mind that it's very difficult for we as a civilization to take us out towards what possibly the other texts like Parashara Tantra are
Parashara.
pointing to.
Yeah. So Parashar Tantra is very clear about it, yeah.
I had a couple of very short questions. The first one was, I was a bit crestfallen when I heard that Agastya was a star and not a human, because I was
particularly in
hoping
this
to.
case,
So I was hoping
particularly
that he
in
was
this
also a human.
Yeah.
Particularly because he's also the father of Tamil literature. So it's not a star can't give you literature. So I'm assuming that there is some. I'm not sure exactly where the connection would lead. But the other question was, so the first question is there also a human that is called Agastya, or a set of humans that are called Agastya? And the second question is slightly larger. It's not specific to Agastya, but this whole sort of correlation of mythological stories to saying this is a story of how the stars moved. Why wouldn't we take the story for what it is? Why would we always draw these equations with how the constellations moved and how they looked? Particularly because let's assume that these stories were meant for the common man. and that was for the brighter guys. But then the brighter guys ought to have had some text for themselves. So somewhere it must then go out to say that, all right, this is how the stars were organized, and these are stories for common men. Or is it just that in hindsight we try and find some justifications for some of this, find some correlations? So that's where the sort of challenges, and I hear lots of
Yeah.
people, and not only in Indian mythology, it's global storytelling. There is this parallels that are drawn with constellations and star systems.
So everyone understood the question about, so like anthropomorphic, are we pushing for it? So he said, why not take it as it is? Why not take it as it is? Yeah, that's the first question, right?
No.
Was Agastya a real person?
Yeah, was Agastya a human being? Yes, Agastya
Yes,
was a human
human
being.
being, yeah.
Okay, so was Vasishta, but Vasishta is also up there.
Yeah.
Atri, I mean, all the
the
sages you
stars are
can
there.
think of are there. Trishanku, that was a human being. Trishanku is up there. Okay, so human beings. Multiple Agastyas, multiple Vasishta, multiple Vishwamitras. We have to get absolutely comfortable with this. But now back to this. In fact, who Rama made at near Nasik, Panchavati, was Agastya's brother. No, Agastya's brother is what? Agastya. Okay, so yes, multiple Agastyas. What was the second question? Why not take the story literally as is? Well, that's exactly what she's doing. Because I'll give you an example, Einstein's relativity. To explain Einstein's relativity, how many of you know that he wrote a paper in 1938 in Journal of Exothermic Sciences? Anyone knows that? We hear this story of Einstein's quote saying, if you sit with a beautiful girl for hours, it feels like a second. If you sit on a hot plate for a second, it feels like hours. Yeah? Now, do you know that he actually performed this experiment? No kidding. Journal of Exothermic Sciences, 1938. Now it's no longer in publication. Okay, you can see that paper online. He borrowed Charlie Chaplin's wife. Okay, took a train from New Jersey, went to New York City at an oyster bar, and just had a date. And when he literally felt that, a second has gone by, he just noted down the time, and it was a lot of time has gone by. Then he came, home and sat on a hot plate. In fact, he was not allowed a hot iron. He wanted to use the iron because of his health condition. It was not allowed. So he used the hot plate. And, he untucked his sleeves, sat on it. And when he felt like a long time has gone by, he woke up, and that was like a 53 seconds. He was that accurate. So now in this story, what I'm saying is, which one is real and which one is made up? The both are real in a way. The relativity is real, and he actually performed the experiments. But he's using this as a metaphor to explain relativity. So if we get stuck into the story, even when real, we will miss the big point. And so now specifically she referred to Parashar Tantra. So Parashar Tantra is a purely
clear.
astronomy text. Nothing there, no metaphors, nothing like that. So that is real.
So how it is real, I will just take a right on this. Shrutapurvaste Prithivyam Meru Mandara Atirikta Prabhava. Now the word play, the whole text is like Kaushitaki is asking Parashara that महाराज ये वहाँ पे planet क्यों उग रहा है south में? The answer he gives. Shrutapurvaste Prithivyam Meru Mandara Atirikta Prabhava. So Meru Mandara, very slow motion of axis. But again it is very cryptic. Shailarada Vindyonam. So I'm coming back to what is Vindhya. Shailarada Vindyonam. Rad, Shailarad, Nataraj, Rad. Can you connect? Rat is for Raja, that is the root. So Rat se Rashtra bhi aata hai, Rat se Raja bhi aata hai. So those words. So Shailarad, Vindyonam. Now in all the constellations, Nataraja he is the king. In the whole constellation also he is the king. And with his own efforts, Swavirya Balamuttray Vishesham Vishya Mano Divya Vashya Sahastram Yugam. So for thousands of years, वो अपने बल से ऊपर हो रहा है. So I showed you that, how it was going up and how it was going down. So this is metaphorical. Isn't it interesting? And then it is Vardhasveti ipsitam. Then again I'm just quoting Anagate cha mai tvaya na vardhitam. So when it goes down, the Orion is down only. When it comes back to the higher latitudes, it will come up. And Tato Maharshi Dakshinam Disham Gata. वो तो रामायण में भी बोला, महाभारत में भी बोला कि वो तो वहाँ चले गए और वहीं रहने लगे. But Parashar Tantra is an astronomy book. What is it saying? Na pratyeti dakshinasyaam udeti tasyam vevastam gachatiti. Now it is rising and setting in south. So this is, as you said, why don't we take the text as it is? So I'm taking the text as it is only.
Actually, my question was a little different. Essentially, looking at what Nilesh has done, which very systematically and with a lot of evidence gives us two very important dates about Indian historiography. One is 5561 BC for Mahabharata, and then he pushes it further back to 12,229 odd for Ram Ravana Yuddha. And now what work you are doing is, it's like, you know, standing below a lamp post and looking towards the dark road and trying to see how far we can actually spot something lying somewhere. And this gives us an indication that yes, we had, at least prima facie, given whatever you have described just now, we have a memory of about 21 odd thousand years.
Yes, yeah.
Potentially based on this evidence. And I was actually trying to recall, although I'm not able to very precisely, there is a Indra Agastya Samvad in Rigved. And that is more on the nature of consciousness and other thing. That discussion is probably not relevant. But the fact is, you mentioned that lupus is is identified with Indra, and then this dialogue also could have potentially been astrological phenomena, is what
Exactly.
I came to my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I'll try to do is to trace out that exact reference and share with you.
It is in fifth Ashtaka, first
Fifth
mandala.
So you are aware.
Yeah, I'm aware of it, and it is a dialogue of Agastya with Marud Ganas, and he is reconciling Marud Ganas कि भाई इंद्र को भी अपने साथ ले लीजिए.
So taking together could mean essentially
Indra ko,
moving towards and
towards
things like that.
from the ecliptic it is coming down. So you will find it very interesting that Sirius star is having great proper motion, and also due to the declination as the Agastya moves up. So likewise Sirius is also moving up and down, and with the combined effect at one point of time it was very much near ecliptic, and that was happening around 2 lakh year ago. 2,16,000 years ago. Supposingly you get the word Agastya, I explained you etymology also. So if it is present in Rig Veda, so how will you take it that? I will ask you the question. Because that is the word I explained you. It is a word of pole star. So it is explaining that the word itself is a pole star.
August
In
comes, it is
Amarkush,
evidence.
it is self-evident. The name is self-evident. Now it is present in many other scripts of Rig Veda itself.
Okay.
So Agastya is present here, many a times. So कितना cycle हो सकता है? कहाँ जा सकते हैं? We don't know. But this is very interesting with Nataraja and Dakshinamurti. They are facing south. So why they are
That
facing
hand
south?
position is very, very that giveaway.
Yeah,
Just
that,
pointing to.
that is pointing there. So it is looking towards Agastya, and in many of the lexicographers have written that Agastya is Shiva.
Then Ring of Fire was another interesting thing which I thought, you could have.
एक जो मनवंतर होता है उसमें अराउंड 1 लाख ईयर होता है, एंड इन दैट चारों जो युग है वो होते हैं। तो राइट नाउ हम लोग का 27th मनवंतर चल रहा है। दैट मीन्स इन ईच मनवंतर रामायण हैपेंस, द सेम स्टोरी हैपेंस, कैरेक्टर थोड़ा सा डिफर करता है, ठीक है ना। तो इस
अभी
तरीके
हाँ, मैं समझ पा रही हूँ आप क्या बोलना चाह रहे
बिकॉज
हैं.
यू आर ट्राइंग टू से कि अगस्त एक तार देखो, इट्स लाइक पोजिशन, Rahul is there, you are there, you can get some position somewhere based on your work, your personality. तो इस तरीके से क्या होता है कि बार बार चीज़ें रिपीट होती है, तो कहीं पे सेम कैरेक्टर्स, चेहरे भी बदले होते हैं भगवान लोगों के। बिकॉज आई एम ऑल्सो राइटिंग अबाउट वन टेम्पल वेयर इट इज सेड दैट कि ये 2 लाख वर्ष पुराना वो शिवलिंग है। सो इट वॉज लाइक क्रिएटेड ड्यूरिंग 26th मनवंतर, जो हिमालय के नज़दीक था। राइट नाउ इट इज़ क्लोज टू माई विलेज। सो बहुत सारी चीज़ें क्या होती है कि आप एक कैरेक्टर को जब गिराओगे ना, तो सारा चीज़ हिल जाता है। आप कहोगे कि अगस्त नहीं है, देन हु केम एंड गाइडेड राम की ये तुम पढ़ो तो तुम्हारे हृदय में वो मारने की क्षमता आ जाएगी। एक कैरेक्टर खींच दोगे तो फिर हनुमान का भी पोजीशन नहीं रहेगा, वो भी उनसे मिले थे। तो ये क्या होता है कि आप कुछ और डिफाइन करने के चक्कर में ना आप सारा चीज़, जैसे पहले सिविलाइजेशन में हुआ था कि दे टॉट समथिंग लाइक दैट, यही होने लगता है। सो यू शुड बी अवेयर व्हाट आर यू डूइंग एंड डिस्क्राइबिंग थिंग्स। आप डिस्क्राइब करो कि ठीक है, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं कि वो नहीं था, तो क्या होगा कि आप राम को भी खत्म होना पड़ेगा, एज पर माई अंडरस्टैंडिंग।
See, this is a challenge. For example, you are coming from a certain position, and are you writing a book or something? You said so. We look forward to that,
Yeah.
you know. And this is not in a sarcastic sense. Honestly, what happens is, it's very easy to critique. Very easy to critique some work, okay, and that's very welcome. What happens is, people tend to give the emotional reaction. I wish she would have shown another chart. She did show 6 types of pramanas, you know, which is what with Vedanta pramanas. But what happens is, there has to be a triangulation, quadrangulation, hexagulation of all those pramanas. So just because we read somewhere, just because it is a traditional memory, just because so and so village has that Sthala Purana, we are not discounting that, but that's the beginning of a journey. That's not the end of a journey. So when you start combining it, many things just fall off. Okay, so for example, like, you know, if you have a particular objection, you might have stated that objection. She's not removing anything. I mean, and not that you said it, but what happens when the many contradictory thing comes together? Something is going to fall off. As simple as that. You cannot keep everything, try to hold it. Many times this, for example, you mentioned, and that is a well-known thing, that Rama comes every manvantara. I'll make it short. Do you know where it comes from? I will encourage all of you to read the book. Again, it doesn't give the answer, you know, but 11 Pictures of Time by Professor C.K. Raju. Okay. Now, guys, we are so much deracinated sometimes. We will take the ideas from the West and think they are our ideas. For example, a perfect cyclicity was never meant anywhere in the Indian literature. It was a pseudo-circular. For example, Vasanta Rutu bar aa jata hai, so we say, okay, that exactly the same thing came. It's not same, it's similar. आपको ट्री वही ग्रीन दिखेगा, बट द लीव्स आर नॉट एग्जैक्टली सिमिलर. इट्स अ pseudo cyclicity. That is what understood. But the West, which is going back to who's the Saint Augustine, that is Nicene Creed, the 3rd century, 4th century. That is when they misunderstood, again possibly looking at our literature, Greek literature, as a perfect cyclicity. Everything gets repeated. Again Ram comes, again he marries Sita. This is not our concept, but somewhere it got mixed up. You understand? Again, how trying to make sense out of this Manvantar, trying to make sense of things get repeated, Kala Chakra and all of this.
Thank you, Nilesh ji.
Thank you.
So, one question from.
I'm frankly speaking, I'm not that much into depth in all this data and all, and this is my first meeting of this kind. What I want to know is, like, we have placed stars, and then over it we have shown ki how it is depicted in that manner, and it is coming down and going up. I want to know how we came to that conclusion, or how we aligned that ki these stars will be coming here, and these stars and the rays are coming out of these legs in this manner, and what is the objective behind it, because there are some important points of the body which are not aligned to the stars, or which are not there in the stars, but we are saying ki it looks like this, like the Angavastra or the Vastra which was going, there was a star which was there, but the lower portion, if my hip portion, if I see, there is no star. So how do we relate and we come to the conclusion that this is the position of the stars and it is moving in this direction? And for a better understanding, I just wanted.
So the second part I will take first. That is due to the change of declination, due to the actual precision, from 78-degree declination it changes towards 53. So that is why it is visualized till Kurukshetra. As it comes to the to nearer to the pole star, so Agastya is declining, and then the declination change makes it go down. आपने बोला कि rays कैसे निकल रहे हैं? That rays are not coming out. When we make, if you have seen मेष राशि, वृषभ राशि and all those things ना, आप देखते होंगे, तो उसमें तारों के साथ में एक image बना दिया. So Western were also doing the same. Indians were also doing the same, and Sumerians and Chinese and everyone, वो dragon बना रहे थे अपने हिसाब से, Sumerians अपने कुछ बना रहे थे, Egyptians कुछ बना रहे थे. So iconography बनाने के बाद में वो याद रखने की कोशिश करते थे कि after sunset ये कौन सा नक्षत्र अभी निकला, कौन सा स्टार पोजीशंस निकल रहे हैं, सनराइज तक क्या क्या दिखाई दे रहा है. सो उसमें आइकोनोग्राफीज बनते गए. तो सिमिलर वे में ये आइकोनोग्राफी भी बनी. मृगशीर्ष नक्षत्र के ऊपर उसको शिव का नक्षत्र कहा गया. शिवम नक्षत्रम परमस्य धामः. तो ये वाजसनेयी संहिता ही बोलती है. सो तैत्तिरीय ब्राह्मणा में इट इज इनका जो डेटी है, तो हर एक नक्षत्र का एक डेटी होता है. जैसे कि धाता यानी कि विष्णु जो है वो डेटी हैं श्रवण नक्षत्र के, तो उसी प्रकार से मृगशीर्ष नक्षत्र के जो डेटी हैं दैट इज शशि, चंद्र, सोम, लाइकवाइज मेनी नेम्स. तो शशि इट कम्स लाइक लेपस में भी आ जाता है, और चंद्रमा जो आपको शिव के ऊपर दिखाई देता है तो उसमें भी आ जाता है आइकोनोग्राफी में. Somehow this Kutan iconography was used by these Malabaris, and that is how it came into picture. It is not like कि actual में शिवा है वहाँ पे, तो नक्षत्र को वहाँ पे एक आइकोनोग्राफी देके याद रखने के लिए कि अब ये नक्षत्र उगा. सो आर्द्रा दर्शनम फेस्टिवल में यही होता है तमिलनाडु में, कि जैसे ही आर्द्रा निकला, यानी कि जो शोल्डर है, रुद्रस्य बाहु, यानी कि पूरा रुद्रगणी था, रुद्र का जो बाहु है दैट इज आर्द्रा. सो आर्द्रा नक्षत्र जिस दिन उगा, उस दिन फुल मून जब हुआ, तो वो नाइट में एक दिन के लिए नटराजा बनते हैं. शिव जो है वो नटराज बन जाते हैं. सो फ्रॉम देयर दैट आइकोनोग्राफी कम्स इनटू पिक्चर, और वो मलाबारीज लोग यूज करते थे फॉर देयर नेविगेशन पर्पस. सो इट वाज अ कंपस लाइक थिंग, और उसी में से फिर वो सीरियस को देखते थे कि इतना टाइम के बाद सीरियस उगेगा, उतना टाइम के बाद अगस्त्य उगेगा, तो हमको एग्जैक्ट साउथ मिल जाएगा, तो हमको अब नेविगेट करना है करके. सो वी वर मच इनटू नेविगेशन. तो मालमनी पोथी अगर आप पढ़ेंगे जो गुजरात का है, यू विल फाइंड इट अमेजिंग कि उनको ये भी मालूम था कि वेव्स का ऐसा सिचुएशन होने पे कैसा हमको कहाँ पे सेल करना है, हवा की दिशा कैसी रहेगी, एंड एवरीथिंग. And that is why that art was taken by Vasco da Gama, and they came finding this place. So many places are found by with the help of our Kutchi navigators only, our Malabari navigators only. So they were the great navigators. तो सबसे पहले उधर भी कट किया गया है ताकि ये लोग navigation में ना रहें करके. So it's like iconographies are something like, हाँ, इsoteric सेंस जरूर है उसका, क्योंकि चिदम्बरम में जब वो 4000 साल के बाद उगा तो इट ब्रॉड ब्लिस. तो चिदम्बरम, इट्स लाइक दैट, इट्स ब्रॉड ब्लिस. इसलिए उदक मंडलम, ऊटी का नाम उदक मंडलम क्यों है? इट इज ऑन द सेम लैटिट्यूड. तो एक तरफ चिदम्बरम है, साउथ ईस्ट साइड में, तो साउथ वेस्ट साइड में उदगमंडलम है, ऊटी. So that is the latitude from where Agastya hops up after 9500 BC, और वो अब आगे का कोर्स करते हैं. प्रभास पाटन में आते आते 6000 BC हो गया. कृष्ण बोलते हैं कि बहुत अच्छा एक तीर्थ अगस्त्य का बन गया प्रभास पाटन. टुडे वी नो इट एज अ सोमनाथ. सो शिवलिंग ऐसा रहेगा, मंदिर नहीं है, और शिवलिंग के जस्ट जितना हाइट है उसका ऊपर से एग्जैक्ट आपको उतने ही हाइट पर अगस्त्य दिखाई देगा. अब तो पूरा मंदिर बन गया, then we cannot see that, but that was the actual thing that was happening there. So that also corroborates like 5561. तो उसके पहले ही प्रभास पाटन, that was a little bit downside of the द्वारका, वो बोल रहे हैं कि प्रभास पाटन अगस्त्य का बहुत प्रसिद्ध तीर्थ हो चुका है, वहाँ पे भी जाएंगे. इस प्रकार का श्री कृष्ण भी बोलते हैं. So this is how like northern course began of Agastya, and अब हमारे टाइम पे it is now till Kurukshetra, and this time it will be visualized till Kathua. So this is how the sinusoidal and the whole cycle जो हो रहा है, that is equal to the precession of equinoxes. 26,000 के बाद में अगेन अगस्त्य पोल स्टार बनता है, उसके बाद अगेन पोल स्टार बनता है. तो अभी वो नाम अगस्त्य है तो पोल स्टार तो है, लेकिन कब कब है वो मालूम नहीं. थैंक यू फॉर द क्वेश्चन.